everyone, welcome to Alexa Flexibility. We are here today to talk about over-tensing in the stretches and then how that can really affect your flexibility and your result. So let's take a look at this student. We're going to be talking about over-tensing or gripping in the hips area, so hip flexors and quads. So you can see that she is very uncomfortable in this hip position. Her hip flexors are extremely tight and pinched back. They look piked back. Her bum is pulling back, and it's because of the tightness in her quad and that tensing in her quad, it's causing her chest to push forward and her back to arch a little bit. So even when she goes ahead and changes position, often when students change the position and reach down into the front, this helps them loosen up. But because she's so tense and gripping so hard, you can see that it doesn't actually give her any opening. As much as she's trying to pull the hip forward, the resistance is still there. She's still fighting the stretch as much as she's trying not to. So this isn't going to help, because then you're not going to get a result out of the stretch, unfortunately. So when you get into that habit of over-tensing into the stretch, fighting the stretch, then when you add it into more difficult stretches, you can see that even as she's trying to put her foot on the wall, all of her muscles want to contract and immediately jump in and resist the opening. What she wants to get is a nice length and opening into there, so it makes her feel stuck, sticky, like she doesn't have a nice extension, maybe even a pulling or a harsh feeling. So of course you wouldn't want to push into that. Instead, it's better to back up, not try for those more advanced stretches yet until you get the relaxation, the loosening in the exercise. All right, so let's talk about some solutions for getting rid of that over-tensing in the hips as you're stretching or fighting the stretch. One way to go about it, especially if the tightness is coming from the hip flexors and the quads, is to go a little bit from a different direction. So here she's going to do a stretch that's more for the outside of the hip and the glutes. It's still getting in her hip flexor and her quad on the support leg, but she's in a half butterfly position on the other leg. Then we're going to add some massage in there. So really she's using different massage techniques and hitting different parts of her body. She's using a shimmying, she's using more of a push into it. Different types of massage will work for different people, and sometimes even the same person doing different areas. So you consider getting into her glutes, the outside of the hip, giving a nice shimmy on that front leg, anywhere that she feels any tension or her muscles starting to resist. Another thing that can really help with that fighting the stretch, the over-tensing in the hip area and the quad area, is to also change the angle to do a cross stretch. So as she's doing the cross stretching, she's a yoga block away from the wall, crossing that top leg over. She's really trying to use, again, her massage in here, and this is a nice position because you're laying down, so you can use the massage all up and down the leg and in different angles. If it's your quad that's more tight, you can work on the quad area. If it's the outside of the hip, you can work more on the outside, coming all the way up by your knee area and getting that entire line in there. If it's the IT band outside of the hip, you can work your way up and down, getting in the calf. If it's the calf that's resisting and tight, do a little work on your calf. And you can do a massage that's a little more strong or a little more gentle, depending on what you like. Don't forget about the glutes. If you need to get in the glute area a little bit to get that resisting to turn off. Basically, you're trying to get yourself to relax and get your brain to turn off so your muscles can let go. Okay, so now when the hips are more receptive, you've done your cross stretching, your outside of the hip stretching, incorporated the massage and the vibration in there, the hips should already be more receptive to the stretch and not so resisting and wanting to fight. Then you can go ahead and add a side to side with the hip flexor stretch. So she'll be doing the hip flexor stretch and adding a gentle left to right rocking, micro rocking from side to side. And then you can see that as we start to come around, you can see that her hips are already a lot more open. She's able to come into the front of the hip flexor a little bit more, and her quad is able to stop fighting and relaxing as much. So now when she brings her hands forward, it's still not super easy for her, but she can use her little micro movement here as well with a little front and back rocking or a little left to right. You can also use little baby circles like what she's doing right now. And any of those little micro movements will help to relax, and she'll get way more out of the stretch because she's not going to be going into the tensing gripping of the quad there. So you can see that everything's staying nice and soft and released, and that means she's actually getting something out of the stretch. So you can see when she comes up, it's a nice little breath of fresh air there that her hip can actually just release and accept the stretch and be in the nice position. Okay, so now after we've done our relaxing technique, we're going to go and take that back to the more advanced stretch. So hopefully now she's a little bit more open and not resisting. So you can see her taking her time to bring the foot up to the wall because she's thinking about not turning on that quad, not resisting, making sure the hip flexor stays relaxed and not tensing up as she's going. But you can see that she has such a different level of extension. She's actually able to get into the stretch. She's able to feel the freedom and the length of the opening because now she's not doing the fighting and the resisting.